Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, where today you join me on another video with a couple of month old Porsche Macan facelift. Now, if you don't know much about Macans, I'll quickly explain. Macans have been around since 2014, 2015. They are still currently on the first generation, but they've gone through two facelift phases. So this is the second facelift phase. This came out in 2022, late 2022. And as of later this year, or 2025, they will start to be phased out for the second generation that will be an EV only range. So this is the last top end, top spec Macan you'll see, the GTS. If you're a bit confused as to why it's the top end GTS and not the turbo, that is because Porsche have decided to cut the turbo on the facelift generation as opposed for the turbo that was the top of the range on the last facelift version. Don't know why they've done it, I might have missed something, but they have got rid of the turbo. They've introduced a Macan between the Macan and the Macan S, so it now goes Macan, Macan T, Macan S and the Macan GTS. So the Macan S and the GTS have been promoted. So the GTS is the top of the range. Again, not entirely sure why they've done it, because the GTS is basically a turbo underneath it. So it has the same 2.9 litre bi-turbo V6, same power at 440 PS or 436 horsepower, whatever you want to go by. And as far as differences go, I think it's more cosmetic. There might be some little tweaks here and there. I can definitely tell on the overrun and the exhaust notes on the way out here, which I'll explain a bit more about. But as far as I can tell, yeah, it's just cosmetic looks. Obviously we've got a slightly different designed, more guppier front bumper look and some minor tweaks here and there. So if you have a quick glance, you're not really going to notice much of a difference. And this particular one is my dad's, so he's very kindly given it to me for a few hours while the weather's nice. There is a big rain cloud over there, so I have not got long. So yeah, he has spec'd this one up in Gentian metallic blue, or Gentian, however you want to say it, or however the Germans say it, with the satin black RS Spider style 21-inch wheels. The list is too long to go through, but I'll go through the main ones. It has a panoramic roof. We love a panoramic roof, but not the drain issue, which I'll explain, and there is another video on that as well. Right, decided I'm going to film this a little bit differently today, inside the car, not outside like normal. And that's because the wind's picking up, and last time I tried filming a Macan in the wind, it didn't go well for the camera. Join me back out with my dad's time to get comfy. There's worse cars for it, I guess. First problem you might have seen getting in, and I mentioned this on the Macan Turbo previously, nothing's changed really. Although how comfy the seats are, this bolster right here on your right side, or left side if you're in a different country, getting in and out really digs in. It's not the most pleasant thing to be climbing over, but once you're in the seats, they're golden. So prices for the Macan GTS start at just over £71,000. Now that's a pretty penny, I'd say, and Porsche love an optional extra, but for that money and being the GTS top of the range, you do get a lot of stuff as standard compared to the lower spec Macans. That being said, there's still a lot more you can add on. This particular one has about £10,000 worth of options in it, one of which, not the GTS, but the actual red stitching. This one has the GTS interior package, which is just under £3,000. But it does look good. It breaks up the interior nicely with the carmine red stitching and accents, and I've got to grab one. Red seat belts everywhere, so they look nice. Going over here, we've also got the carmine red RPM counter on the instrument cluster as well, to break up what's actually right in front of you. Normally most options you can't see, but that's nice. One of the biggest changes on the interior of the Macan is the actual centre console itself. Now, on the previous one, there was a lot of buttons, there was a lot of stuff going on, and I like that. I like buttons, and I like I don't like to get in new modern cars where everything's been replaced with a tablet and a touchscreen. I think it's a bit dull, it's a bit boring, and it's overdone already. Porsche have done this one very well. I wasn't too keen when I see the pictures to begin with. I thought, no, they've got rid of everything, but they are kind of like buttons underneath. You haven't actually got a physical button, so you can't really do it from memory, muscle memory as such. But there are buttons there, which is nice. And one of the other great options that you can spec in a car, especially if you're going to be sharing it with other people, is memory seats. And this one has the 18-weight adaptive seats, which are, again, lovely. But you have to pay a penny for that, and it is £1,250 optional extra. Now, within that £10,000 of optional extras, there's a couple of smaller options, cheaper ones, per se. £422 for a heated steering wheel. It's one of them, I guess. Never been faced by a heated steering wheel, but once you've used one in the winter, you might come to love it. £350 for some tinted front lights. £280 for some automatic dimming mirrors. And then one of the nicer options, which you can spec inside the car, is Porsche's Racetech Alcantara roof lining. Well, there's a little bit here in the centre console. Now, besides all them interior goodies, equipment wise is pretty standard for any car nowadays, really. You've got a nice centre console screen, you've got dual climate control, heated seats, both driver and passenger, and that's all you really need, to be fair. There's plenty of room in the back for the rest of the family if they want to come, or if they don't, you can just enjoy the car to yourself. But no, plenty of headroom, despite being, obviously the Macan is the baby version of the SUV range, or the 4x4s from Porsche. With a bit more of a coupe styling to it. Plenty of headspace in the back as well. Legroom is fine. It can sometimes get a little cramped depending on your driver. If you're behind the driver, depending on how tall they are, it can get a little cramped on the old legs. But other than that, it's a very pleasant place to be. I don't really have any bad words to say about the Macan. Obviously, the only slight thing that still seems to be around is the drain issue from the roof. The video I done on the draining issue sort of went mad. A lot of views on it, definitely one of my better videos. Thank you, little puppy. Oh, cute. Yeah, and it's kind of like 50-50. There's a lot of people on this end. I've had the problem with the draining issue, water getting in the boot, into the fuse box, the battery well, causing electrical issues and stuff like that. And then you've got the other side of people. Granted, a lot of them seem to be from like sunnier countries, Florida, counties, like that sort of thing, and they're saying they're not getting issues. It's like, well, you're not going to get issues because you're in a sunny state. Whereas in the UK, on the Macan forums, Facebook pages and stuff, a lot of people have sometimes still having issues. So it's something to look out for. But other than that, if you're aware of the issue and you know how to look after it and prevent it, not that you should need to, they're a great car. They're a great all-round family car, daily, weekend toy, whichever way you want to go with it. They can be sensible, they can be fun, practical. But I do love how Asbo this exhaust is on this one. Alright, I'll do one launch control because you know you can't not. So Sports Plus, traction control, semi-off, brake right down to the floor, then throttle. Oh, whew. Stated times is 4.5 seconds, but definitely feels it might feel a little bit quicker. Although that one was a little bit squirmy, a little pull to the left a little bit. It might be a bit of crap on the left side wheels as they were kind of in the mud a little bit earlier. So right hand side gripped up well, pulled me slightly. Whew, but still, nonetheless, it does always make me laugh that these semi-big SUVs do stuff like this. Let's go for one more launch, because that one, the first one, was a bit pants. There's a bit of some tyre marks where I was, but we'll do the same again. Foot hard on the brake. Ooh, traction control kicking in. A little bit of squirming again. Woo. It's alive. Battered, wow, which a bit battered, but it's alive. Bloody GoPro mounts. I'm glad you enjoyed the launch control. I certainly did not. Yeah, now that has fallen off the car, I've lost all trust in it, and there's a bit of a daisy stuck in there. But yeah, that will not be going on the car today. I'm not going to push my luck anymore with that, so unfortunately no more outside footage, except for obviously the flybys and the launch control from the main camera. Main thing is, this camera's not broken, it's still usable. That's the main thing. It's not what I need on a Friday. But yeah, where was I? Oh, yeah, launch control, can't fault it. There was actually a bit of dirt there in that area, so that's why it was a little bit squirmy getting off the line and slipping a bit. The turbo had no problem before, and I would no doubt in my mind that this would be quicker on a dry, sunny, warm day as well, with some heat in the road and the tyres. One thing I will talk about as well is the LED headlights. I'm hoping they've updated the software a bit, because on the turbo they were quite laggy, the auto high beams and stuff, to the point where actually my Transit van was actually better and more responsive than them. Quite a lot of the time you'd be driving over night time, oh sorry, you just gotta yeah, quite a lot of the time you'd be driving over night time, and they'd take so long to react to cars coming the other way with the high beams on that people would actually start flashing you, to the point where you just get annoyed with it and you just turn it off and do it manually. I won't get to experience that situation today because I'm very limited on time, last minute planning kind of thing, or filming, so I can't say whether they have updated it or not, but I'd like to say they have. So apart from them two little minor issues, like the drain and that, and I'll stick a little video in there where to, if you're planning on getting one, where to look for the drain. So all you have to do to rectify the problem is literally cut the end of the rubber off to allow a better water flow out of the drain, rather than it blocking up with dirt and then causing the electrical problems later on down the line. Yeah, apart from that little issue, again, it's a car I can't fault. It's the perfect all-round car. The turbo facelift was, and now the facelift GTS is no different. EU regulations normally stipulates that manufacturers have to get more and more boring and put petrol and diesel particulate filters and stuff, which therefore makes the car quieter. But I would go as far to say that with this one, the sort of facelift of the first generation of Macan, that this is the same, if not actually a little bit more louder and a little bit more ASBO than the previous Macan Turbo, because the pops and noises that come from the rear end are so much more prominent and louder than the previous. And let's see if I can just get it to pick it up and put it in manual mode with dash. Not bad at all. And it's the same on the upshift as well. So I'm not entirely sure what Porsche were thinking. I might have missed something with the updates, but they got rid of the turbo, the Macan Turbo, from the previous facelift and replaced it with the GTS, but then introduced the Macan T, which is a lower down model of a 2 litre. So they've kind of just swapped that one back down there, lowered that one, and then moved the rest up a couple. So the GTS, same engine, same horsepower, a couple of little tweaks, is now the new turbo. But I guess that's just a badge at the end of the day. We want to know how it handles and how it drives, and it's definitely a lot louder and a bit more ASBO-y as well. Given that this has got the same engine and power, tuned slightly differently because of the more prominent overrun, I would assume, although Porsche states that you can get up to 25 miles per gallon out of this car, driving the previous turbo and doing a long run on that and getting around 30 mpg in that, I can't see 28 being achievable. That's obviously with their combined driving figures, so on a long run you should be able to get 30 miles per gallon. Now we'll put it in Sports Plus, the car will hunker down a couple of millimetres, throttle response will get better. I've put it in manual mode, which is now on the steering wheel rather than a side shift on the gear selector, and we can go through the bends. The turbo handled brilliantly. This will no doubt handle brilliantly with the air suspension set up on it as well. We've got some heat in the carbon tungsten coated ceramic, not ceramic discs, which are better than standard, not quite as good as ceramic, but much more durable than standard, so we shouldn't suffer from heat fade in the 2-ton SUV. So let's see. You can definitely feel the back end get a little bit lighter. But the front doesn't seem to, well, the nose doesn't dip in too hard. But the brakes feel nice and firm, solid, like they don't feel spongy at all. They're a little bit sharp on the bitey side, but yeah, so for around town they're a little bit grabby, might jolt you a little bit in the seat, but for the more spirited driving, they definitely live up to the expectations. It can be a more sensible family car as well. I mean, stick it in normal drive, suspension softens up a little bit, ride height goes up, you get a little bit more body play or roll play, whatever you want, and you can close the exhausts and it gets a lot quieter. You can't hear the V6 rumble anymore, and you can just chill out and go about your day. I don't want that though. I want what Porsche made it for. It handles so well. It doesn't feel like a big 2-ton SUV. Obviously, unless you're coming up against some traffic on a country lane, then you feel a bit like, oh, breathe in. But no, it stiffens up lovely. There isn't much in the way of body roll as such, and it is very enjoyable. Obviously, PDK is the way to go with these cars. You haven't got the manual gear selector shift that was, to me, backwards anymore. They've got rid of that, but you've still got the flapping paddles on the back of the steering wheel, and there is an M button on the steering wheel now to put it into manual mode. As well as that, you've also got the button, the little round button in the middle of the driver's modes, which gives you the 20-second boost or sports response. And that is like the fun button for them little bursts of energy that you want. Get around a slow driver, wake yourself up in the morning kind of thing. Or unless obviously you put it in Sports Plus and you have that fun all the time. I love that kind of high gear, low speed V6 rumble as you come out. And then the turbos start to kick in, and oh, it's such a good harmony of vehicle size, weight, balance, engine displacement. And I think that's probably why it's rated one of the best. One of the best optional extras as well that goes on a Porsche Macan is the pano roof. I love a pano roof. Just makes the car feel more open, like it gives convertible vibes, but with hard top security, I guess. And on a nice day like this as well, just lets in so much more sunlight, makes everyone happy. We got other optional extras as well, like one, if you've never actually been in a Porsche and seen one, is the heated steering wheel. Without actually being shown where the button is, you will have a hard time finding it, and it is right between, I don't know what you call it, the bottom spokes on the steering wheel. There's a little button just around the back of it. So unless you got shown it, you might accidentally click it one day without realising, and you get a little heated steering wheel on message that comes up for a few seconds. Love the little turbo whine you get from the front as well. Subtle, but it's nice to hear. Brakes working lovely. Bit of weight to fight. Nice little. I don't think I drove the previous turbo as hard as this, and it is surprising how well just everything works. You'd expect to be fighting the weight of the car a little bit, but no, it's actually perfect. Obviously wouldn't go too crazy, and that's kind of how I am anyway. I wouldn't personally go too crazy, and it's the right amount for me. But the power is spot on as well. The way it delivers it and the actual amount of power, the 436 horsepower, is just the right amount. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below if you haven't already. And I'll hope to see you on the next one very soon. Cheers, bye.